It's Monday, September 22nd, 2025. Good evening and welcome to the daily happenings inside our federal machine. The FDA announces that Tylenol appears to have a large connection with autism, and warning labels will be added to Tylenol as a result. Turning Point USA announced their college tour will be picking back up, and they've announced some big speakers along the tour. France, Monaco, Belgium, and Luxembourg are among the latest nations to recognize the State of Palestine. And now that the UK formally recognized Palestine as a state, the Palestinian Authority president demands £2 trillion in reparations over British occupation of the region during the 20th century. Jimmy Kimmel's show will be returning to late-night TV starting tomorrow night, at least for some, but not for everyone. Republicans have been negotiating to keep the government open, but Democrats have been stonewalling every step of the way. And also, border czar Tom Homan's alleged bribery scandal is back in the news, and White House Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt gives details as to why the $50,000 bribery investigation was shut down over the summer. The Trump administration announced a lift on sanctions with the country of Syria. And there's a lot more that happened today, as usual, so we're just going to dive right in. And if you enjoyed the video, please give the video a like if you have a quick second to do so, and subscribe to the channel if you enjoy the daily updates, and I might just read your comment on the next episode if you decide to drop one. I do the show Monday through Friday in the evening hours. It's not a dead set time when I upload the video. I usually get a start around 8 o'clock. Tonight's a little later, 9 o'clock, so this video should be going up like around 11 o'clock. So it's like mid to late evening hours when the show drops. So here, let me just get straight into this one. Matter of fact, let me refresh it because I got some new info. I just grabbed a few things very last minute, starting with the Babylon Bee, a Nazi rally. There was a Nazi rally which inspires millions of people to forgive and love their enemies. You gotta love Babylon Bee. Always on top of it. They are the GOAT when it comes to mainstream media. And also from the Gateway Pundit, exclusive TikTok, New Jersey man secures nearly 1 million documents from Detroit's 2020 election, including copies of absentee ballots and signed envelopes in one of the largest election FOIA hauls in U.S. history. This is going to be huge, folks. And in case you don't know what FOIA is, it's Freedom of Information Act. So a lot of government documents that are in those bankers' boxes. So that's going to get crazy. Not sure if he's going, I'm assuming he's going to be reaching out probably to the public at large to see if anybody else wants to help him comb through all that. Like, that's just all solid documents from the election in 2020. That is absolutely crazy. And that's just Detroit. So matter of fact, hold on, let me click on, I think I actually, or somebody posted, yeah, here we go. So this was Detroit during election night. In case you forget, in case you don't remember, Detroit wasn't the only place. Look, that's a ballot counting center. That's where they were counting the ballots in 2020. Of course, it's 2020. Everybody's wearing masks. And they were putting up paper over the windows so nobody can have a look inside. And I'm pretty sure I've got the city correct. Philadelphia, they were doing the same thing. They were putting up brown paper covering all the windows. But not only did they put up paper to cover the windows, they also kicked out the Republican poll watchers, which was illegal, but they did it anyway. And of course, there were appeals to the Supreme Court. They didn't want to touch it because the election was quote unquote moot, whatever the hell that means. They just didn't want to deal with it. So yeah, American people waiting for just one Democrat to be held accountable for literally anything. Yeah, exactly. That's President Trump included. He's getting pretty stern with AG Pam Bondi because there's indictments in waiting. At least there should be, but nobody's getting charged with anything. Adam Schiff, I would say, would be up there at the top, as well as James Comey and a whole bunch of other people. But yeah, it's just like mysteriously nothing's really being done in the DOJ. Hopefully his post that he put on True Social, then he took it off of True Social, which sparked this huge outrage over Trump accidentally sending out something he was supposed to tell Pam Bondi in secret. I don't know. The way that it was set up, if you know what I'm talking about, that True Social post, I mentioned it on last night's episode, or no, not last, well, yesterday. I didn't have an episode yesterday. It was Sunday, but I believe I made a video on Sunday talking about it. it looked like it was framed as a true social post, just typical with his capital letters and like half of a sentence that's all capitalized. You know how Trump does it. So, but anyway, I don't know, man. I guess we'll just have to wait and see what happens with that. Oh yeah, also almost skipped over this one from Tom Fenton. Sinclair, it's Sinclair Inc. They will not be airing Disney's left-wing activist employee Kimmel's show. So as I mentioned at the very beginning, I've got another post a little bit further down talking about how Jimmy Kimmel's coming back on the air starting tomorrow, but not for everyone, because Sinclair Inc., they're in charge of 38 different ABC affiliate stations that are on the local level. So Sinclair will be preempting Jimmy Kimmel Live across our ABC affiliate stations and replacing it with news programming. And then discussions with ABC are ongoing as we evaluate the show's potential return. That will be interesting to see what happens. Do you really think that Jimmy Kimmel's ratings are going to take a nasty hit, or do you think they're going to stay relatively the same? I think they're probably going to go down, maybe not insanely a lot. It'll probably go down noticeably. But they're just going to blame this. They're just going to blame Sinclair. They're going to say, well, they're not showing Jimmy Kimmel over on the Sinclair company, 38 different TV channels, and that's across the country. So I don't know. I guess we'll just have to see. But this comes from Secretary Kennedy. Some 40 to 70% of mothers who have children with autism believe that their child was injured by a vaccine. President Trump believes that we should be listening to these mothers instead of gaslighting and marginalizing them like prior administrations, which, yeah, they absolutely did.
We are continuing to investigate a multiplicity of potential causes with no areas of taboo. One area that we are closely examining, as the president mentioned, is vaccines. Some 40 to 70% of mothers who have children with autism believe that their child was injured by a vaccine. President Trump believes that we should be listening to these mothers instead of gaslighting and marginalizing them like prior administrations. Some of our friends like to say that we should believe all women. Some of these same people have been silencing and demonizing these mothers for 3 decades.
Right.
Because research on the potential link between autism and vaccines has been actively suppressed in the past. It will take time for an honest look at this topic by scientists.
You know, I never thought that I would, but I think I'm starting to get used to Secretary Kennedy's voice. It's not really bothering me as much as it did at first. I mean, obviously, it takes a little while to get used to. I think he has some neurological condition in his vocal cords. I don't know if it's like it's not related to Parkinson's, is it? I don't think it is. It's just like something that just affects his throat. I don't know, just a bad roll of the dice, I guess, and probably genetics or something like that. But yeah, I was reading up on that like a week or two ago. Anyway, also from Secretary Kennedy, today, the U.S. FDA will issue a physician's notice about the risks of acetaminophen during pregnancy and begin the process to initiate a safety label change.
Today, we are announcing 2 important findings from our autism work that are vital for parents to know as they make these decisions. First, HHS will act on acetaminophen. The FDA is responding to clinical and laboratory studies that suggest a potential association between acetaminophen use during pregnancy and adverse neurodevelopmental outcomes, including later diagnosis for ADHD and autism. Scientists have proposed biological mechanisms linking prenatal acetaminophen exposure to altered brain development. We have also evaluated the contrary studies that show no association. Today, the FDA will issue a physician's notice about the risk of acetaminophen during pregnancy and begin the process to initiate a safety label change. HHS will launch a nationwide public service campaign to inform.
So what do you think blue states are going to do? Do you think they're going to push back and demand that the pharmaceutical companies that manufacture acetaminophen don't put the label on there? Oh, because the big bad evil Trump administration, they're saying that Tylenol is bad for pregnancy. It could cause autism. I don't
families know. And protect public
Would
health.
Not surprise anybody.
FDA also recognized that acetaminophen is often the only tool for fevers and pain in pregnancy. as other
What about ibuprofen?
alternatives
Is that a
have
no-go?
well-documented adverse effects.
Oh.
HHS wants, therefore, to encourage clinicians to exercise their best judgment in the use of acetaminophen for fevers and pain in pregnancy by prescribing the lowest effective dose for the shortest necessary duration and only when treatment is required.
Oh, dude, you know that there's been a lot of pregnant women, I'm sure, that were taking Tylenol on the daily. I mean, there's a lot of people, they take Tylenol PM just to help them sleep. They don't even need the acetaminophen at all. They just need something that they just get into the habit of taking Tylenol PM, and they just take it every day for freaking years in some cases. It's absolutely crazy. Like, people just pop it like it's nothing. But yeah, man, acetaminophen, it ain't good for your liver. Obviously, it's not good for pregnancy either. At least that's what they're determining. And this is from the president. Tylenol during pregnancy can be associated with a very increased risk of autism. Tylenol
during pregnancy can be associated with a very increased risk of autism. So taking Tylenol is not good. All right, I'll say it. It's not good. For this reason, they are strongly recommending that women limit Tylenol use during pregnancy unless medically necessary.
Well, look,
Tylenol.
It's better to just try to avoid Tylenol at all costs, just for the sake of your liver. Yeah, if you take one here, one there, it's probably not going to do much. The only pushback I can think of that they might end up getting from this is that Tylenol's been around for, 100 years? Or acetaminophen? It's been around for many decades. And what was it, like 30 years ago? Only 1 out of 10,000 children had autism just 30 years ago. And now it's like 1 in 37. So it's gone up extremely substantially. Absolutely crazy. However, with Tylenol being around for as long as it has, I don't know. I'm not exactly sold, if I'm being honest. But I mean, look, they're the experts. I'm not an expert. I'm just some dude just sitting here on the internet. So, but anyway, this is from Jay Bhattacharya. I'm going to butcher his name. He's the NIH director. I'm never going to get his name right. Bhattacharya. Anywho, this initiative will bring together powerful data on genetics, biology, and the environment in new ways, helping scientists better understand autism and find ways to improve lives. Gold standard science is at the heart of this work, advancing one of the key goals to make America healthy again. And they link an article here. So NIH Autism Data Science Initiative awards projects announced. All right. Well, looking like $50 million. NIH launches $50 million Autism Data Science Initiative to unlock causes and improve outcomes. I know that they've been, at least what they've been telling us, the government's been telling us that they've been studying to see what the root cause of autism is. I know I've been hearing that for years. However, are they really, though? Are they really? I just have a feeling that the big pharma, they know exactly what causes autism. They just don't want to lose billions of dollars. But who knows? The National Institutes of Health has launched the Autism Data Science Initiative, a landmark research effort that will harness large-scale data resources to explore contributors to the causes and rising prevalence of autism spectrum disorder. More than $50 million in awards will support 13 pioneering projects that draw on genomic, epigenomic, metabolomic, and proteomic, clinical, behavioral, and autism services data. These projects will integrate, aggregate, and analyze existing data resources, generate targeted new data, and validate findings through independent replication hubs. So obviously this thing, it goes on for quite a while, but I've got it linked in the description if you want to check it out. It starts with nih.gov if you want to read into that more. And I'm just going to move straight on to the next thing from Colin Rugg. New Turning Point announces their campus tour will continue. They will include speakers like Tucker Carlson and Michael Knowles. Michael Knowles announced that he is leaving an empty chair on stage for Charlie at the University of Minnesota, Twin Cities, tonight. Other tour speakers, according to the Turning Point website, include Erica Kirk, Megyn Kelly, Glenn Beck, Vivek Ramaswamy, Alex Clark, Allie Beth Stuckey, and others. So that's a hell of a lineup, man. Let's give this a watch here.
I think that Charlie's most lasting legacy in a life that included
Michael
quite a
Knowles
lot
himself.
of accomplishments, especially for a 31-year-old. I think his most lasting legacy will be reminding America of what America's soul really means, what we're all doing, what kind of nation we are. It was absolutely beautiful. Charlie had many, many friends, happily, and so the event will go on. I think that Charlie's enemies
You mean the
thought that
tour
they
will go
could
on?
not only silence him, but in fact silence his whole movement. That will not happen. In fact, they will not even silence his speaking tour. So many other of Charlie's friends will be finishing
Love
out
to see
this
it.
tour. I will appear tonight. There will be an empty chair on stage. I will give a tribute to Charlie, and then we will open up the floor to an open conversation. Charlie's enemies will not have stopped that, and people who disagree can, like at all of his events, cut to the front of the line, and we will continue to have a healthy debate.
Very
And we will
cool.
continue
That was
to
always a
show
great
the
idea.
country the stark difference between the two political options in front of them. He really mastered the art of reaching people who were not necessarily involved in politics. Erica Kirk continued that work beautifully yesterday. I think the distinction is totally clear, and I think Charlie's recruitment efforts to the good and to the political good reached their absolute apotheosis yesterday.
Well, that's why the left smeared Charlie Kirk so heavily, because he would do stuff like that. He would, during the Q&A session, he would announce that if anybody has any opposing views or if you have any pushback as to what we've been talking about tonight, I want you to come up to the front of the line so we can debate right off the bat. And nobody on the left does that. Nobody. Like, nobody goes on stage. I don't even really think anybody on the left goes on stage in any format to speak to an audience of just everybody's welcome. Conservatives are welcome. Lefties are welcome. Everybody's welcome to come on in and we'll have a discussion and we'll just try to exchange ideas and see who wins in the long run. Nobody on the left does that because they all know they don't have facts on their side. It's just an insane, just fake brain dead matrix that they're living in. And it's just absolutely crazy. And you think that they might ask themselves that, you know, why don't we have Charlie Kirk's counterpart on our side? Like, why don't we have somebody on that level that goes around speaking to college campuses and just systematically debunking and torpedoing every single conservative talking point that's out there? Why don't we have anybody doing that? Nobody's doing that. I mean, we've got like a, I don't know, YouTube influencers. I'm sure there's like Instagram influencers. There's plenty of people on X that just try to gaslight people all day, but they don't debate. They don't sit and actually talk with people, especially with people that are just sitting in an audience where anybody's welcome to come up. If you're my biggest I don't even know, like my biggest anti-fan or whatever. I don't know. I'm trying to find that word. But if you have the biggest disagreement of anybody else in the crowd, come up here and we'll hash it out right here, right now. I don't know. Anyway, from Caroline Levitt, Trump says the bullet that killed Charlie Kirk was aimed at all of us. Wow, man. Yeah, of course, that happened yesterday. Hundreds of thousands of people showed up. The number that I heard as far as the number of people that actually got into the main event, it was at 90,000. Although I heard numbers from like 300, even 400,000 people showed up in total. And of course, Uber and Lyft, they're in hot water. I haven't seen them come out with any statement or not. I don't know if they will or not, but there were Uber and Lyft rides that were going for over $700 for a ride locally. I'm assuming probably from the airport to the event, something like that, but it was in hundreds of dollars. So they're being accused of price gouging. And yeah, I think it should hit an upper threshold before it should be considered price gouging. No more than like $100 for like a 15-mile trip. That's probably, I don't know. I don't know what the fuck I'm talking about. I never take Uber or Lyft anywhere. But there should be a cap, no matter how high the demand is. It just gets to a point where, look, I mean, all of our Uber drivers are occupied. You just can't get an Uber right now. Sorry. Anyway, so Trump says the bullet that killed Charlie Kirk was aimed at all of us. Charlie's murder was not just an attack on one man or one movement. It was an attack on our entire nation. So President Donald Trump said on Sunday that, okay, well, we just read that again. I don't want to read it a third time. Trump made the remarks as part of his eulogy for Kirk, who had been assassinated 11 days earlier at a campus event at Utah Valley University. And he said that the attack on Kirk had been an assault on our most sacred liberties and God-given rights, which it absolutely is true. And that was the Post. So, quote, every single American should take a long, hard look at the twisted soul and dark spirit of anyone who would want to kill a young man as good as Charlie. To kill anybody, but to kill a man like this, Trump said. He didn't deserve this. He didn't deserve this. Our country didn't deserve this. Let's see. I'm wondering if this Yeah, it looks like this might be it. Here, let me turn it down a little bit. I think it's a little bit loud. And I'll try to full screen here.
Should take a long, hard look at the twisted soul and dark spirit of anyone who would want to kill a young man as good as Charlie. To kill anybody, but to kill a man like this, he didn't deserve this. He didn't deserve this. Our country didn't deserve this. And anyone who would make excuses for it are just out of their mind. Charlie's murder was not just an attack on one man or one movement. It was an attack on our entire nation. That was a horrible attack on the United States of America.
If you missed the event, he's standing behind bulletproof glass. That bulletproof glass is like 6 inches. Maybe it might even be thicker than that. It is extremely thick bulletproof glass. And I caught a side view of it when one of them, I don't remember who it was, who was going up on stage, but I caught that side view and was like, holy shit, man, that thing can stop anything.
An assault
and it was an indoor event too.
Liberties and God-given rights. The gun was pointed at him, but the bullet was aimed at all of us. That bullet was aimed at every one of us. Indeed, Charlie was killed for expressing the very ideas that virtually everyone in this arena and most
they're telling
other
us to shut up or else.
Country
we will not be silenced.
In. But the assassin failed in his quest because Charlie's message has not been silenced. It now is bigger and better and stronger than ever before, and it's not even close.
So Charlie's not there, though, right? I don't think that he's there. They call it a memorial service, so I'm assuming that Charlie's body's not there. Yeah, so anyway, yeah, probably a stupid question, but I don't know. I mean, that like they could have had him there for like a formal funeral, but no, yeah, it was a memorial. But anyway, I'll link this in the description. You want to check that out. And from Speaker Mike Johnson, among the themes yesterday were unity, forgiveness, and patriotism. Powerful. And this is from The Hill. Trump must reunite at Kirk Memorial. From Left Dana White, who's there, of course, with President Trump and Elon Musk, and House Speaker Mike Johnson. They talk at a memorial for Charlie Kirk on Sunday at State Farm Stadium in Glendale, Arizona. And here's another image from them talking together from behind. So I know Elon, he posted a couple of times on this matter, saying something like we're, we reunited on, we buried our differences kind of thing. Let's see. I know you are resting in peace, Charlie. Still can't believe this happened. Your memory lives strong. And yeah, let me see. I want to see if I can get the one from yesterday. Okay, so he reposted that. Oh, okay, the White House posted that also. Oh, he had another one. Let me see. This might for Charlie. This got a ton. Yeah, it got over 1 million likes. Yeah, so he posted that yesterday. Well, maybe he just reposted it. There was another one with him and Trump talking together, and he said something about how we're putting away our differences, and we realize that like life is too short kind of thing. So, all right, but anyway, move on to the next thing here. So Speaker Mike Johnson, every House Republican voted to condemn the murders of Democrat state lawmakers in Minnesota, yet more than half, 118 of House Democrats, refused to join us in voting to condemn the murder of Charlie. 58 voted no, and the rest just abstained. It speaks volumes. So yeah, let's see. Minnesota lawmaker versus Kirk vote count. Resolution condemning attacks on Democratic Minnesota lawmakers 424-0. But the resolution honoring Charlie Kirk was 310-58. But of course, we already knew they were going to vote that way. Of course, that's just how Democrats are now, the party of hate. All right, Rapid Response 47. Press Secretary says POTUS will attend the 80th session of the UN General Assembly tomorrow, where he will speak in part about how globalist institutions have significantly decayed the world order and articulate his straightforward and constructive vision for the world. And let's give this a listen from Caroline
Tonight,
Levitt.
The president will depart to New York City ahead of the 80th session of the United Nations General Assembly. He will be joined in New York City by the First Lady. Tomorrow morning, President Trump will deliver a major speech touting the renewal of American strength around the world, his historic accomplishments in just 8 months, including the ending of 7 global wars and conflicts. The president will also touch upon how globalist institutions have significantly decayed the world order, and he will articulate his straightforward and constructive vision for the world. The president will also be hosting bilateral meetings with the UN Secretary General and the leaders of Ukraine, Argentina, and the European Union. The president will also later in the day hold a multilateral meeting with Qatar, the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia, Indonesia, Turkey, Pakistan, Egypt, the UAE, and Jordan. After these important meetings, the president will attend a reception tomorrow night with more than 100 world leaders before returning to Washington, D.C.
Wow. That is a lot of world leaders. So I'm sure I'm going to bring that up tomorrow. I'm sure I'll grab a few clips on that, him giving his speech, and we'll see what he says. We'll just see what happens tomorrow. And this comes from Elizabeth Pocahontas Warren. Did Trump's DOJ shut down this bribery investigation? Was it Attorney General Bondi or FBI Director Patel? The act was caught on camera. The administration must turn over the tapes to Congress. Every decision made by a Homan must be scrutinized for possible corruption. I don't know if it was really caught on camera. I mean, like, how would she know that? But she doesn't know who ended the bribery investigation. So you know the whole thing was on camera, but you don't know who was behind the shutting down of the investigation. Anyway, from MSNBC, Tom Homan was investigated for accepting $50,000 from undercover FBI agents. Trump's DOJ shut it down. I don't know if I actually left a comment on this or not. I think I commented on the next one. Yeah, so, of course, there's... if you want to read it, I mean, I'll clip it. I'm not going to go through it right now because I got other related posts to go through. So, let's go to the next one. And from Eric Daugherty, breaking another narrative crumbles. Tom Homan did not take the $50,000 he was allegedly offered from FBI agents in 2024 to help them win government contracts. Caroline Levitt says it was attempted entrapment from Biden's FBI. Even Kash Patel's FBI looked into this just to make sure, and they found zero evidence of illegal activity or criminal wrongdoing. The White House and president stand by Tom Homan 100%. Mr. Homan did absolutely nothing wrong. They lied about a great patriot yet again. Of course, because he's the border czar. So, of course, they're going to try to smear him more heavily than anybody else. And doesn't matter what she says. Doesn't matter what evidence that she shows. She could even show a video of them actually meeting and they're trying to hand him a bag full of money. And he just keeps putting his hands up like, no, like waving his hands around. And they'll still say, well, like what happened after they walked away? They met up behind the camera and he gave it to him then, or some stupid bullshit like that. But anyway, here, let's check this out.
Can you just speak to, did the president ask the Justice Department to close the case? And does Homan have to return the $50,000?
Well, Mr. Homan never took
Well, that was kind of a loaded question now, wasn't it? Does he have to return the $50,000? Because we know he totally cooked. He took it.
$50,000 that you're referring to, so you should get your facts straight, number one.
Boom.
Number two, this was another example of the weaponization of the Biden Department of Justice against one of President Trump's strongest and most vocal supporters in the midst of a presidential campaign. You had FBI agents going undercover to try and entrap one of the president's top allies and supporters, someone who they knew very well would be taking a government position months later.
Yeah, why would they be doing that? Why would they be trying to reach out to Tom Homan to try to make some like a parking garage type deal and handing him like a bag full of cash? That just sounds extremely sketchy. Like, why him? I mean, does he have a history of taking bribes from other people in his history? I mean, I don't know the guy. I don't know what his history is. I just think it's pretty hilarious.
Mr. Homan did absolutely nothing wrong. And even the president's Department of Justice, even Kash Patel's FBI, looked into this just to make sure. They had a number of different prosecutors. And
well, you know, they're going to say, well, of course, Kash Patel's FBI is going to bury it because he's an ally of Trump. And so is Kash Patel, Tom Homan, like they're all good, close buddies.
FBI agents who looked into this, they found zero evidence of illegal activity or criminal wrongdoing. In the White House and the president stand by Tom Homan 100% because he did absolutely nothing wrong, and he is a brave public servant who has done a phenomenal job in helping the president shut down the border. Mary.
Yeah, well, we already know what they're going to say. Release the files. Release the files. Oh, my God, release the files. All right, let's move on. William Martin, press secretary, under the terms of this deal, TikTok, we're talking about TikTok now, will be owned by a majority of American investors. Oracle will serve as TikTok's trusted security partner, and they will independently monitor the safety and data security of all U.S. user data on TikTok's platform. Here
For
we
all
go
of
with
you,
TikTok.
the president will be signing the deal, the official deal, later this week at some point. Under the terms of this deal, TikTok will be owned by a majority of American investors and controlled by a board of directors.
I'm not excited about this. They need to shut this shit the fuck down,
and
man.
cybersecurity credentials.
TikTok is a
in
cancer on
partnership
our
with the
society.
U.S. government, Oracle will
Everybody
serve
got
as
TikTok
TikTok's
brain.
trusted security provider, and they will independently monitor the safety and data security of all U.S. user data on TikTok's platform. Americans' data will be stored.
Now, look, maybe I'm wrong, but I keep hearing that ByteDance, who owns TikTok currently, they're coming out with TikTok 2.0, and then they're going to market it very heavily in America with the tens of billions of dollars that they've already made on existing TikTok. And who knows, they might have some insane algorithms, or they might have some crazy addictive methods that they will pull everybody into, and maybe we'll find ourselves in the same situation again where everybody is heavily dependent or addicted to a Chinese social media platform like TikTok, except it'll be TikTok 2.0 now.
Securely in the United States without access from China. All U.S. user data will be stored on servers operated by Oracle in the United States, protected from surveillance or interference by foreign adversaries. And the algorithm,
Well, I
know
think the
this is a
damage is
question
kinda
many
done
of you
already.
have had, will be secured, retrained, and operated in the United States outside of ByteDance's control. And TikTok will remain globally interoperable, meaning TikTok users in the U.S. will be able to see videos posted by users in other countries and vice versa. While I don't have a number on the specific deal, we do expect that thanks to the president's leadership and the securement of this historic deal, businesses using TikTok will generate as much as $178 billion in economic activity within the U.S. over the next 4 years. So this is great news, not just for the millions.
So in other words, the Chinese CCP and ByteDance, they generated over $200 billion already. That's a lot of money that they could use for other things.
Of American youth who use TikTok, their data will be safe and secure with this new deal. They'll continue to use this very fun app. But it's also great news for all of the small business owners who have really been able to make a living off of the use of TikTok as well.
I know what TikTok definitely did. It completely obliterated the sense of shame in our country, because people, they go on TikTok and they'll talk about anything. They'll talk about how they're on welfare. They'll talk about how they neglect their kids. Like they'll talk about all kinds of shit. It's absolutely fucking insane, man. All right. Yep. I'm not a fan of it. I have a TikTok profile. I never get on it. I think I've only been on it like 3 times ever. Never posted anything to it. Never really plan on doing so. But all right. So Washington Examiner, here it is. Breaking: ABC announced it would bring back late night host Jimmy Kimmel's show on Tuesday after a brief suspension. This is from Washington Examiner. I can't remember if they paywall or not. They probably do. That's just my luck. Of course they do. Anyway, I get to read just the intro part of it at least. Although, you know what? Here, they might actually just have the video here.
ABC owner Disney announced in a statement that it would bring Kimmel's show back after...
Uh-oh. Why did it pause? What the hell? Well, that was stupid.
Jimmy Kimmel's
Hold on, let me try this again. What the fuck? Oh my god. Whatever, dude. I'm just gonna leave it in the small player. It's all broken. It's all jacked up. All right, let's try this yet again.
That it would bring late-night host Jimmy Kimmel's show back after a brief suspension. ABC owner Disney announced in a statement that it would bring Kimmel's show back after, quote, thoughtful conversation with the host. It came amid widespread outcry from left-wing figures and outlets over the suspension. Disney said, last Wednesday we made the decision to suspend production of the show to avoid further inflaming a tense situation at an emotional moment for our country. It is a decision we made because we felt some of the comments were ill-timed and thus...
Well, it's funny because companies... Oh, shit. It's funny because companies like Disney, like, they don't even know, which way the wind's blown anymore, which direction we should go in. Like, they're still trying to play both sides, even though Disney has clearly sided with the left on way more things than they have with the right. And it's like they just keep shooting themselves in the foot. And it's just goes to show like how chaotic Disney has really been in recent years. I mean, they absolutely have been in a state of chaos. Anyway.
Tense situation were ill-timed and thus insensitive. Kimmel's show was pulled after Kimmel's remarks regarding the identity of Charlie Kirk's assassin.
We hit some new lows over the weekend with the MAGA gang desperately trying to characterize this kid who murdered Charlie Kirk as anything other than one of them and doing everything they can to score political points from it.
The Federal Communications Commission prohibits
You already know Jimmy Kimmel's
broadcast
gonna double down
licensees from
if he's
quote,
on tomorrow.
broadcasting false information concerning a crime or a catastrophe if the licensee
He's going to try to play a
knows the
South Park. Let's see
information
how
is
far we
false,
can get this
if
First
it
Amendment to
foresees
go.
the broadcast of the information will cause substantial public harm, or if the broadcast of the information does cause substantial public harm. ABC suspended Kimmel 2 days after his comments, though speculation abounded that the cancellation was due to FCC pressure. Most reports suggest Kimmel was suspended over an advertiser revolt.
All right, whatever. I don't know. Dude, why does this thing keep fucking opening? I'm trying to hit the pause button. All right. Maybe it won't play anything in the background. I hope it doesn't. So we're going to move on to another hard segue from Fox News. Chaos in Chicago. ICE protests turned violent, forcing agents to fire tear gas and rubber bullets to break up the crowds. They've been doing that all weekend. I think it started on Friday, maybe on Thursday. Well, that's when I caught notice. I caught notice of this on Friday when they were blocking the exit gate where vehicles were trying to leave from the ICE facility and they were standing in the way, which is not a protest at that point. It's obstruction at that point, which can carry a sentence of up to 8 years in federal prison if you're obstructing the activities of federal law enforcement, which they've been doing time and time again. So let's see what these extremely peaceful protesters have been up to. Well, at least they're using peaceful language. These stupid fucks are shooting fucking fireworks. Bunch of goofballs, man. All right, well, now we can't see shit. Yeah, I was saying, don't pick up your camera, buddy. You can't see anything anyway. Plus, you're about to get tear gassed. Yeah, there was a clip, I think it was also on Friday, where there was a whole line of mainstream media that were over on this side, across the street on the sidewalk, and they were firing tear gas, and like the breeze was carrying it over to the camera guys. That was pretty hilarious. They were all like trying to scramble to grab their equipment while like holding their breath. I mean, that's what they get, dude. The only reason the mainstream media is there is just hoping and praying that a fight breaks out. I mean, they're not there for any other reason but for that. Anyway, Homeland Security, these rioters in Illinois are fighting to keep rapists, murderers, and other violent criminals loose on Chicago streets. Instead of rioting, they should be thanking ICE officers who every single day wake up and make our community safer, which, yeah, they actually do.
What do you say to people who are protesting these detentions?
78% of Americans are in favor of mass deportations.
Riots. They are becoming violent. These protesters on Friday, or these rioters on Friday, were throwing gas cans at our law enforcement officers. They were slashing tires and otherwise assaulting
they were getting
our
arrested
law
for doing
enforcement.
that.
And Chief Bavino
they were
is
actually arresting
absolutely
people
right.
for throwing the cans
our
back at them.
law enforcement officers are getting hurt. There's a 1,000% increase in assaults against them. It is incumbent upon J.B. Pritzker, Mayor Brandon Johnson, to turn down the rhetoric, because they are repeating and really
well, it's also incumbent on our federal government and AG Pam Bondi to make an example of these assholes and give them 8-year sentences, just one after the next after the next. If you're obstructing federal law enforcement, give them the maximum. Just keep giving them the maximum. And that's what they should be doing. Now, I don't know what the federal judges, I'm sure their politics are pretty far left leaning in this area. I don't know about all that. I just think that's what they should be doing.
To violence.
They should be arresting every single one of them.
Really depraved individuals who are being held in this processing facility. Why?
See, yeah, like, look, if they're standing in the street, arrest every one of them. If they're standing up in front of the exit gate from the building, which I think is up over here, arrest every single one of them and charge them with everything you could possibly charge them for. That's what they should be doing. And if there's not enough ICE officers to arrest every single individual there, well, send in the National Guard or send in more of them. I know that they've got like what there's 150,000 people that have filled out applications to become ICE officers. I think that they were only taking like 10,000 to start with. I don't know, man. The Department of Homeland Security, they just got over $300 billion from the big beautiful bill. It's not just a 1-year amount. I'm sure that's over X amount of years, but they just had this insanely massive infusion of money, which what comes with money comes resources. So I just think they should just flood the area with as many officers as they can possibly put out there and just if they step out in the street, arrest them for obstruction or whatever. I mean, is that too heavy-handed? Will it hold up in court? I don't know if it'll hold up in court or if it's too heavy-handed, but I just think they should try to make an example out of anybody, especially the ones who are throwing the tear gas back at them. They should definitely give them the max for that.
Why do they want them out? Why do they want them released?
I mean, that's assault on federal officers. That's a 20-year maximum, actually.
What do you say to people who are protesting these detentions?
And these protests have really turned into riots. They are becoming violent. These protesters...
Oh, yeah, okay, we already did that. All right. Yeah, if it's less than a minute, I think it plays over again. That's really annoying because it didn't used to do that for me. So anyway, FBI Sacramento on Friday, September 19th, 2025, multiple rounds were fired at KXTV, the Sacramento ABC affiliate. Yesterday, FBI Sacramento effected a probable cause arrest of Anibal Hernandez Santana for alleged willful or malicious interference with the communication of a station licensed or authorized by the U.S. government, which is a violation of 47 U.S.C. Section 333. The investigation continues, and we are working with the U.S. Attorney's Office to pursue all appropriate charges. And I will link that in the description for you. And this comes from FBI Director Kash Patel. The FBI has taken into custody the suspect linked to the shooting in ABC 10 Sacramento station lobby under a federal hold for interference with licensed broadcasts. Targeted acts of violence are unacceptable and will be pursued to the fullest extent of the law. The FBI arrests Sacramento man in connection with ABC 10 News station shooting after earlier release on bail. Yeah, the local judge let him out. Dude literally shot up a fucking news station. There were bullet holes in the glass. He was firing into the news station. I don't know how he wasn't held without bail for attempted murder or something, but they let him out. They let him out, like after a single day. Isn't that crazy? Now, if they did some digging into his background and they found out he was, a Trump supporter or something, do you think they would have let him out? Nope, rules for thee, not for me, the two-tier justice system. Homeland Security, to be clear, we will not comply with Gavin Newsom's unconstitutional mask ban. At a time that ICE law enforcement faces a 1,000% increase in assaults and their family members are being doxxed and targeted, the sitting governor of California signed unconstitutional legislation that strips law enforcement of protections in a disgusting, diabolical fundraising and PR stunt. Well, yeah, and he also wants to fan the flames of division. That's really what he wants to do. He wants to, he already knew what he was doing. He knew that's not going to stick because he doesn't have jurisdiction over federal law enforcement affairs. States don't. So for him to say, well, it's against California law for federal law enforcement to wear masks, it's 100% unenforceable. But anyway, here, let's play this.
I'll be signing a bill, the
Give
first
this a watch
in the
and a
nation,
listen.
saying enough.
From Fox News.
ICE, unmask. What are you afraid of? What are you afraid of?
Being doxxed by a bunch of psychopathic fucking leftists. I don't know. Why don't you go ask Brett Kavanaugh? Maybe they're afraid of something like that because they've got a lot of reasons to be afraid. There's a hell of a lot of attacks coming from the left. Virtually zero coming from the right.
And here's what the
it's
acting
not zero,
U.S.
but it's
Attorney for
pretty
the
damn
Central
close to
District of
zero.
California, Bill Asaley, said, the state of California has no jurisdiction of the federal government. If Newsom wants to regulate our agents, he must go through Congress. I've directed our federal agencies that the law signed today has no effect on our operations. Our agents will continue to protect their identities. When can we expect California to pass a law banning Antifa members from wearing masks while committing state and federal crimes?
That's a good question, sir.
I'll wait.
I'll wait too.
I guess,
what about Antifa wearing
that,
masks?
Federal authorities are not going to.
Which is kind of ironic because, look, if they had the ability to enforce that, California to enforce that federal officers can't wear masks, couldn't they just say that they got COVID or something? Or actually, you know what? Matter of fact, I believe in that bill that Gavin Newsom signed that they are allowed to wear N95 masks. So they did cover the whole COVID bullshit. So just wear a bunch of N95 masks, but they don't even have to do that because it's unenforceable. So fuck them. They don't have to wear. They don't have to go by California law.
It's unconstitutional. And by the way, why do ICE law enforcement wear masks? It's just posturing. Not only are they facing 1,000%,
and all it's going to do is Gavin's going to say over and over again, I signed that law. It's California law. No, you can't wear your mask. And then they're going to be convincing leftists to show up wherever ICE is and screaming at them to take off their masks, and they're going to try to start yanking their masks off their face and shit like that, which of course is assaulting a federal officer. But I mean, like, why wouldn't they do that? It's not like they're getting prosecuted for anything they've been doing lately.
Increase in assaults against them, largely because of the rhetoric of these politicians, likening them to the Gestapo, to the Nazis. This law, in fact, was called the No Secret Police law. Why is that? Because they're likening our ICE law enforcement to Nazis. What did Americans do in the Second World War? We went to war with the Nazis, and we killed the Nazis. That is what Gavin Newsom is doing. He's giving a permission slip, and he's encouraging violence against our ICE law enforcement officers. It's despicable, and I do think it's worth mentioning.
Yep, well, he gets to live up in his ivory tower, safe and far, far away from all of the unrest that he's been single-handedly creating.
That just an hour before this press conference, him and his team issued a threatening post against Secretary Noel.
Hey, what was that all about?
It seemed very menacing, and I think it was pretty disturbing to see. I'm glad on both sides, from the left and the right, that...
You know what? Red State should answer by mandating everybody to carry firearms. Everybody, at a minimum, carry concealed. I mean, you get the tactical advantage by carrying concealed anyway, as opposed to open carry. Mandate that. Everybody has to carry a firearm if you don't have a felony and you're over the age of, let's say, 21.
We've seen condemnation of that statement, but it's really inappropriate, especially in the current
political... I guarantee you see crime virtually disappear.
Environment where we're seeing so much violence. It has to stop.
All right. So let's move on to the next thing. It's just absolutely crazy, man. They're fucking psychopaths. They want nothing more than the American Civil War, which is absolutely crazy, because the far left, who the Democrats are covering for, they don't represent nearly as many as they claim they do. It's like, what, 10% maybe? However, something needs to be done with the K through 12 system and the university system, because they are manufacturing more and more far leftists by just indoctrinating them into the leftist cult, by dragging them into college institutions. Although I would really be curious to see over the next couple of years if college attendance is going to start going down, because tuition, it's gone up and up in recent years. It's absolutely insanely hyperinflated, ridiculously expensive. And you're seeing more young people that are graduating and not being able to find anything to do with them. I read something just the other day, over 60% of recent college graduates said that they will flat out not pay their student loans back, that they absolutely refuse to. And that's the number one that's their number one reason for saying that they're not going to, because they say it is impossible for me to find any job with this degree. It's not possible. So I don't know, man. I don't know what's going to happen with that, but I would not be the least bit surprised if we start seeing like a rapid falling of a university attendance over the next few years. Plus, the Pell Grant you can use for trade school now. That was in the One Big Beautiful Bill. You can use the Pell Grant to get a skill in the trades, which there's been a rapid increase in recent high school graduates. And there's even some high schools that are offering trade programs where you can even get certificates by the time you graduate while you're still in high school, which is freaking amazing, man. Oh, yeah, here, hold on, I didn't read it. All right, so anyway, from Fox News again, there will be no more coddling of young criminals. Just in, U.S. Attorney for D.C. Geneva Pirro vows to hold criminals accountable after a 17-year-old is accused of shooting an off-duty firefighter. Man, what the fuck, dude?
These out-of-control juveniles who think nothing of illegally possessing a weapon and holding up individuals are...
Look, and I don't know why they're not talking about this. I don't know if there might be any leg for this to stand on at all. But if they're 17 years old, and I'm assuming that there's a curfew. It's been a while since I was a teenager, but back when I was a teenager, there was an 11 o'clock curfew. If you're caught outside and you're under the age of 18 after 11 o'clock and you're not going to or returning home from work, or you've got a legitimate reason why you're out after 11 o'clock, you get arrested and you go down to juvenile. I mean, this was like 20 years ago, but I'm assuming that minors still are subject to a curfew. So if you're 17 years old and you go out and you shoot a firefighter, I think that parent should be charged at a minimum as an accessory, if not also being charged with second degree, or if they charge them with first degree murder. I'm not so sure. I'm assuming it might be second degree murder, but charge the parent with the exact same crime.
Now going to find that they
their
will
responsibility
be made
at the end of the day.
That there will be consequences, and there will be no more coddling of young criminals.
Yep, charge the parents.
This is why we fight. This is why we prosecute. And this is why the president is making safety a priority in the district.
Yep, absolutely.
These out-of-control juveniles.
All right, there we go. So, yeah, I mean, I stand behind that. Charge the parents. Charge them with the same thing, because it's their responsibility. Their children are their responsibility. And if they're out committing crimes, then they should be charged with those crimes, because they might as well be standing there right next to them by allowing them to just go out and do whatever the hell they want to do. All right, Rapid Response 47, Press Secretary, Antifa is a violent radical left terrorist organization. That's why President Trump will imminently sign an executive order officially designating Antifa as a domestic terrorist organization as soon as today. I've heard a lot of pushback about this, that it's never going to hold up in a court of law because it's going to fall under free speech. So I wouldn't get your hopes up too high with regard to this actually standing. However, now, Andy Ngo, he's like the foremost expert when it comes to Antifa affairs. He's a journalist, and he's on X every day. He's got his own website. He's doing his own thing. He's written books about this, and he suggests and I thought of this before I even heard him talking about it, although I'm sure he's been saying this for years, but President Trump should be designating Antifa as an international terrorist organization because Antifa did not start in the United States. It got its start in Germany in 1932. The far left radicals that were pushing it back against the Nazi Party in Germany back in the early 30s. And from then they branched out, later on in the 20th century. I think they first got their foothold here in the US in the late 1980s. But they're in multiple different countries. The Netherlands, they've already declared them as a terrorist organization right after Trump said that he was going to designate them. There was one other country, I can't remember what the other one was. There's one other country that also just the other day designated them as a terrorist organization. But that's what they should be doing. They should designate them as an international terrorist organization because they don't have roots here. They've got the roots back in Germany. Plus, especially if you can arrest a member of Antifa and you can connect them with some website, some communications or forums or anything like that with other Antifa cells outside of the U.S., well, there you go. Now you can get them as an active international terrorist organization. So not so sure if they're going to go that way with it. I would really hope that they would at least try to pursue that as being an international terrorist organization, but let's see what she says.
Antifa is going to be designated a domestic terrorist organization. The president intends to sign that executive order very soon as it's drafted, as soon as today, later this afternoon. And this is something the president campaigned on because we have seen a rise in violence perpetuated by Antifa radical people across this country.
Yeah, can you point to one single instance where Antifa organizes and shows up and not a single crime is committed? Because they're going to hide behind the First Amendment saying that they're peaceably assembling, that we're peacefully protesting. Antifa, like nobody's got any footage of Antifa standing there for I don't know, even longer than like fucking 5 minutes without inciting some sort of violence or rioting.
Subscribe to this group.
That's what they do. They show up and they riot.
It's gone widely uncovered
by
many in the legacy media. It also went completely ignored by the previous administration.
They like to walk with umbrellas during sunny days.
Not only, as you mentioned, were the bullet casings subscribed with Antifa mottos, if you will, in the heinous assassination of Charlie, but there have also been more examples than I could read off for you here in this briefing room today of violence from Antifa. I will just read a few. In July 2025, several members of an Antifa cell ambushed and opened fire on officers at an ICE facility in Alvarado, Texas, shooting one officer in the neck. Also, in July 2025, 3 Antifa members were charged with assaulting a police officer during a violent riot outside.
Well, look, you'd have to go back a few years, but even Steven Crowder, he had, what was his name? Jared? Not Gay Jared. That was his name. He actually got him to infiltrate himself into a local Antifa cell, and he was talking with a couple of members of Antifa. They weren't dressed up in black at this time. He had a hidden camera on him or whatever. They gave him a knife and said that when we organize, I don't know what it was, like the next day or something, like next time we organize, I want you to bring this knife and stab somebody with it, essentially. It's on, I'm sure it's still on Steven Crowder's channel. He did a whole like 2-3 part series on that where Not Gay Jared like went into Antifa and like they ended up calling the FBI and they ended up arresting the person who gave him the knife and shit. It was fucking crazy.
An ICE facility in Portland,
and that was like 5, 6, 7 years ago.
Had been
that was
under
a long time ago.
siege from the local Antifa terror cell. In February 2024, a transgender Antifa terrorist detonated an explosive device outside of the office of the Republican Attorney General of Alabama.
Let out with no bail.
In July 2023, Antifa members linked to abortionist group Jane's Revenge firebombed pro-life facilities and vandalized churches. In January 2022, a suspected Antifa member was arrested for bringing a pipe bomb to a pro-Trump event. In January 2021, an Antifa supporter threatened to shoot police officers rioters and Trump supporters outside of the Florida State Capitol building. Again, I could continue to list many more examples
I'm sure
for
there's
those in the
probably
room
hundreds
who
of them.
don't believe this is a serious threat to American safety
But
and our
Antifa's
national
just an
security.
idea.
But this
Right,
administration
Joe
knows that
Biden?
it is. That's why the president will be signing this order. And we will also be, most importantly, looking at who is funding Antifa and who
That's
is
what they
funding
need to do.
these other violent left-wing groups that we've seen perpetuate so much crime and mayhem across our country.
Yeah, that's probably going to be hard to do, but yeah, that's really what they should get to the bottom of. And I hope that they've been reaching out to Andy Ngo. I mean, this dude knows everything about Antifa. It's crazy the amount of information that he knows. I don't know if he's actively infiltrated in any groups. I highly doubt it, because if there's anybody that Antifa knows, it's Andy Ngo. Like, they know him very, very well because of his reporting on them. Yeah, I hope they do. I hope they can find the money. I'm sure a lot of them, they're just, couch surfing, and they deliberately try to stay as disorganized as they can with no leader, so they won't get designated as a terrorist organization. We'll just have to see. I don't know if you can give enough instances to deem it as such, and if a judge holds up their designation, we'll just have to see what happens. All right, so moving on to Speaker Mike Johnson. Under President Biden, Democrats insisted we must keep the government open. Now, under President Trump, they're saying the opposite. Last week, every single House Democrat but one voted to shut down the government. Watch Democrats, in their own words, explain how damaging that is. And of course, the Democrats, Chuck Schumer, I think more than anybody, I see every single day, he's pointing the fingers at Republicans. No, they're the ones shutting down the government. We don't have any power. We're not in control of the House or the Senate or the presidency, or we're not even in support of we don't even have the majority in the Supreme Court. So they're pushing back and saying that we're not shut down anything. Like, we don't have any power to shut anything down, which of course they do, because they have to get 60 votes in the Senate to pass any budget legislation, and it's a very slim majority. So of course it's the Democrats that are stonewalling. But that's the game they play. Anyway, let's see if this will play. Yeah, here we go.
It is not normal to shut down the government when we don't get what we want.
If the government shuts down, it will be average Americans who suffer most. A government shutdown means seniors who rely on Social Security could be thrown into chaos.
Now, so far, everyone that they've put on screen, they are voting to shut down the government. They're pushing to shut down the government right now, but we already know this is how Democrats play. They flim-flam all the time. They say one thing and they mean the opposite thing. If there's a Democrat president in the White House, then they're going to take the opposite stance of what they're taking right now. It's all about stopping the evil orange man.
Families will be hurt. Farmers will be hurt.
It's the service members who will work without a paycheck. It's the firefighters
that's
who
why
will
y'all
be
shut down
furloughed.
the government now.
This shutdown, you know who's going to feel the pain? You know who it hurts?
Who the hell is that?
Everyday people and the most vulnerable. Seniors, veterans, working families, hungry kids, y'all.
I know. How dare you shut down the government, Democrats? Why are you doing this?
Democrats are signaling they're ready for a fight.
Yeah, Democrats oppose stopgap bill, raising odds of a shutdown. LA Times, Democrats should force a shutdown to save the government. Democrats want a government funding fight, but they haven't decided on a plan. Politico, Democrats steer into a shutdown. The Hill, Democrats say shutdown necessary to send a message to Trump. It all boils down to getting illegal immigrants their health care. That's what the big fight is. That's why they're shutting down the government. But they're saying the Republicans are shutting down the government. And of course, they're not going to say because they're not giving money to illegal immigrants for health care. But that's what they're really standing on. And that's the deal that they made with Republicans. Take that deal and we won't shut down the government. Like the Senate will get the votes needed to get the spending bill passed, which is only going to be a 7-week period of time. But there's this huge other thing that Democrats also want to get passed in order to keep the government open for another 7 weeks. They want $1.5 trillion worth of spending passed. I still have yet to hear exactly what it is that they want to use $1.5 trillion for, and why they have to get it now and not 7 weeks from now when this whole thing comes back up in less than 2 months, when I guess they're like this, like what is this bill called? Or it's like stopgap or something like that. I don't remember the exact term that it is, but it's only a temporary period of time that they're going to keep it open, or that they're trying to keep it open, but it doesn't sound like it's going to happen. It sounds like the government's going to shut down, and it might be shut down for a prolonged period of time because you know, Democrats, they just want to throw a big temper tantrum and they want to try to stonewall Trump's presidency.
This time, Schumer tells the Associated Press, quote, things have changed.
It is not normal to shut down the government when we don't get what we want.
Except you're shutting down the government because you're not getting what you want. That's exactly what you're doing. All right. Moving on to the next thing. Dr. Roger Marshall, wrong. Republicans have been negotiating. We have also passed 87% of our spending bills through committees with bipartisan support, and Senator Schumer refuses to let votes happen on the floor. It takes 60 votes to get any spending bill passed in the Senate. This will be a Schumer shutdown.
Here's what needs to happen. The Republicans put together a proposal under instructions by Donald Trump. Don't talk to Democrats. Don't negotiate with Democrats. Democrats in the Senate put together a better proposal, which keeps government funded, but also fixes the Republican misstep in taking away premium support for people who purchase insurance on the Affordable Care Act.
I mean, look, it's not insane to be calling Democrats terrorists at this point. Like when you get Governor Newsom up there talking about how that we're passing this legislation so we can force ICE to take their masks off so they can essentially be doxxed, and all of this like conservatives and Republicans are Nazis and Trump's Gestapo and evil orange man dictator, using all this extremely like hyper polarized language. It's effectively terrorism at this point. I mean, that's really what they're doing. They're trying to terrorize the other side into remaining silent. And don't you dare double cross. Don't you dare vote for another Donald Trump again, or else, by God, we're going to have our way with you.
Even many Republicans have said, we got to fix that. The other thing we do in the Democratic proposal is put some guarantees in it that if there's a deal, President Trump has to honor the deal and can't just suddenly start clawing back money. We had 2 votes on those 2 proposals Friday. The Democratic proposal got more votes than the Republican proposal did. And now the negotiation begins. They wouldn't negotiate with Republicans to begin with, but the leadership has reached out to President Trump and said, let's sit down this week and figure this out. President Trump last night said he was open to doing that. That's what we need to do. You never get a budget deal without a negotiation. And I think the news from yesterday suggests that's going to happen here in the next couple of days.
Look, man, frankly, a lot of people, I would say probably more conservatives than Democrats would be happy with the government shutdown. I mean, like a lot of conservatives, like the libertarian folks, the more independent folks, like they want a smaller government. Like shutting down the government is music to a lot of people's ears. Of course, if you're in the military, you're not going to be getting your paychecks. It's going to be paid back retroactively. I mean, I understand all that. There's a lot of people that aren't going to be getting their paychecks, and that is a problem. I'm just saying that there's a lot of people out there that they're like, okay, whatever, go, fuck it, shut it down. Whatever. I don't know. Anyway, Secretary Marco Rubio, this is another hard segue. I met with Syrian President al-Shara about our shared goals for a stable and sovereign Syria and ongoing efforts to bring security and prosperity to all Syrians. We also discussed implementing President Trump's historic announcement on sanctions relief and the importance of Israel-Syria relations. So there you have it. They're going to be lifting some sanctions on Syria. It sounds like it's finally getting more calm in that region. I mean, it's been unstable there for as long as I can remember, for sure. All right, now we got another one. RT, France's Macron officially recognizes the State of Palestine at the UN. It's only 17 seconds.
Between the Israelis and the Palestinians. This is why I declare that today France recognizes the State of Palestine.
Oh my God, yay! Oh my God, we're so happy. Yay, Hamas, the Hamas government has been officially recognized as a state, as an official government, or whatever the fuck that means. All right, but this isn't the only one. Oh no, we got another one. Here's Monaco.
Today, we wish to reaffirm our unwavering support to Israel's existence, and we also wish to recognize Palestine as a state under international law. Yay! Today, we wish to...
Oh, wait, what's this? Oh, no, we got another one. Here we go from Belgium.
A strong political and diplomatic signal to the world today by joining the group of countries that announces the recognition of the State of Palestine in the margin of this high-level week of the United Nations General Assembly.
Oh my God, we're so happy.
We are thus
not so sure what this really accomplishes. I don't keep up with Palestine stuff. I just know that it's not exactly the most favorable thing to be doing, but I don't know, man. All these globalists, they just want the instability. I think all roads lead to depopulation. I think that's what they ultimately want, which doesn't really make a whole lot of sense in the whole European thing, because with the whole like in France, for instance, the birth replacement rate right now is 1.3 amongst longtime French citizens, generational French citizens. But the newly arrived Muslim citizens of France, the now citizens of France, they're having kids at over an 8. It's like 8.3 or 8.2 or something like that. So they're having like 8 kids per couple, whereas all the other couples in France are only having like 1.3 per couple. So, I mean, if all roads are going to lead to depopulation, I don't think that's going to exactly happen in Europe. It's just going to become an Islamic Republic of Europe at some point. So this is Luxembourg.
Of hope.
Much quieter, Luxembourg.
That is why I solemnly declare that as of today, Luxembourg formally recognizes the State of Palestine.
Which is pretty fucked up, because they still have like, what, 50 hostages? They're holding dozens of people hostage for almost 2 years now. And now they're getting state recognition from a bunch of Western countries. I mean, like, why? You don't find this to be in any way bad timing? And like, what exactly happens if Palestine is recognized by the world? Like what? Like Israel all of a sudden has to put their guns down. They can't fight them anymore. They get to keep the hostages forever and just have their way with them and do whatever. I don't get it. I mean, you could still send food aid to them and not recognize them as a state. But again, what do I know? I don't keep up on this shit. I don't know. I just try to stick to the swamp. Anyway, Rapid Response 47. Press Secretary on other nations recognizing a Palestine state. Quote, the president has been very clear that he disagrees with this decision.
As for all of these Western nations that are...
Oh shit, sorry, that was a little bit loud. I was about to say, like, Trump, I mean, at least he's got a decent brain between his ears.
Recognizing a Palestinian state, the president has been very clear. He disagrees with this decision. He spoke about that in the UK, standing right next to his friend, Prime Minister Starmer. And he feels this does not do anything to release the hostages, which is the primary goal right now in Gaza, does nothing to end this conflict and bring this war to a close. And frankly, he believes it's a reward to Hamas. So he believes these decisions are just more talk and not enough action from some of our friends and allies, and I think you'll hear him talk about that tomorrow.
I mean, I could be wrong, but who is in control? Well, not that there's probably much of a functioning government happening in Palestine right now, but since going back to like the 1990s, who has been in charge of the government in Palestine? Has it been Hamas? I think so. I'm pretty sure I read that somewhere. Anyway, this is from yours truly. You almost can't make this shit up. UK recognizes Palestine as a state. Now Palestine cites international law while demanding £2 trillion over the UK 1917 to 1948 occupation, and they'll probably get it. So I'm replying to this. Breaking Palestine seeks $2 trillion in reparations from the UK. Following its recognition as a state, Palestinian Authority President Mahmoud Abbas demands reparations from the UK for its 1917 to 1948 rule, citing international law. This is an absolute disaster. As it is. So we'll just have to see what happens. See, they got a quote. Let's see. Have we reached the ultimate stage of absurdity where some people are held responsible for things that happened before they were born, while other people are not held responsible for what they themselves are doing today? Thomas Sowell. Very wise quote. Well, that's a very nice thank you from Palestine to the UK. Yeah, really. Thank you for recognizing us as a state. And you owe us $2 trillion, by the way. And would that surprise you if like some international court says, yeah, you have to pay him $2 trillion, and then the UK actually starts making like multi-$100 billion payments to them, or pounds, I mean? I don't think that would surprise anybody. How about no? Yeah, why not? You assume that Starmer would object. I don't know. I somehow doubt that. All right, though. Hey, man, this was his idea. It was his idea to give statehood, recognized statehood with Palestine. So you think that some of his experts would have maybe caught on to something like that. Well, you know what? We did occupy Palestine for a couple of decades back in the 20th century. And, you know, according to international law, we have to pay them back reparations if we recognize them as a state. Although I don't know the inner workings of what that exactly means, because the UK, they've occupied like 60-70% of the entire planet at one time. And like the country of India, they just got their independence from the UK like in the 1970s, if I'm not mistaken. So what would stop them from demanding reparations from the UK? And India is the largest populated country on earth now. So I think they would probably be looking for a hell of a lot more than $2 trillion. All right, moving on to Secretary Doug Burgum. When energy production is restricted in America, it doesn't reduce demand. It just shifts production to our adversaries, whose leaders don't care about the environment, and they use revenue from energy sales to fund wars against us and our allies. With the president, energy is made in the USA. And I don't actually, let me just check the comments real quick. There was something that I saw earlier today when I looked at this. I don't think it's going to be down here. It must have been something else. I saw something else like with regard to the 1970s oil crisis, and that was basically the same issue that was going on. And because our adversarial countries in the 1970s, they were essentially cutting us off from oil that we needed, which paved the way for the Alaskan pipeline to be constructed. So, all right, from US DOT Rapid Response, repeat offenders are terrorizing America's transit systems because soft on crime policies let them roam free. Secretary Duffy is not waiting for the next Irina Zarutska, the young woman brutally murdered on a Charlotte train. Let's stop this from happening again. Chicago and Boston, you're on notice. It's time to clean up your act. And this is from the New York Post without... Oh, no, there it is. I always forget that they always put it up there at the top. Let's see. Sean Duffy warns Chicago, Boston transit systems could risk federal support amid rising violence. There's Trump and Elon. They reunited at Charlie Kirk's funeral, saying slain activists inspired them to find their... I didn't catch the last word. Settle their differences. Let's just say that. All right. U.S. Transportation Secretary Sean Duffy warned Friday that Chicago and Boston are at risk of losing federal support unless local leaders swiftly take steps to improve safety on their transit systems. In a Friday news release, Duffy condemned what he described as the two cities' failure to protect riders and transit workers, citing a string of violent incidents on the Chicago Transit Authority and Massachusetts Bay Transportation Authority, two of the nation's largest transit systems. Among them were the assault of a 27-year CTA veteran who was punched and thrown onto the tracks, an elderly woman shoved off an MBTA bus, and a case in which a man used his belt to assault passengers, as noted in the Department of Transportation's news release. President Trump cares about our great cities and the hardworking Americans who inhabit them, Duffy said in a statement. While local leaders seem intent on putting the needs of criminals first, we are not waiting for the next Irania. Oh man, I have so much trouble saying her first name. Irania. Chicago and Boston are on notice to take actions that enhance safety and reduce the crime affecting their riders and transit workers or risk federal support. This is about standing up for American families who deserve a safe and clean transportation system. In formal letters to CTA, Acting President Nora Learshen and MBTA General Manager Philip Eng, Duffy directed both agencies to submit written reports within 14 days detailing what steps have been taken to curb crime, stop fare evasion, and improve cleanliness. All right, the reports must also summarize funding sources for fiscal years 25 and 26 related to safety and security, including any funds from federal agencies like the Department of Homeland Security. Duffy also criticized both cities' cashless bail policies, which he said allowed deranged criminals to repeatedly terrorize public space. Plus, they just hop on the train and they just sit on it all day. Isn't that what they do in New York City? Like a lot of homeless people, they just sleep on the train all day. Following the incident of the elderly woman who was shoved off of a Massachusetts bus and violently slammed to the ground, MBTA General Manager Philip Eng said Thursday that safety is the agency's top priority and stressed that such conduct would not be tolerated. Except it sounds like you're tolerating it, though, because you haven't done anything. You haven't put extra cops on the trains or anything. He also reminded riders that they can report concerns anonymously at any time through the Say app. Okay, so that's all he's doing. He's like, well, it's not my problem. It's actually the passengers' problems because they're not adequately reporting anything. Quote, safety will always be at the forefront of everything we do, and I'm proud of the prompt response and investigation by the MBTA Transit Police that led to the arrest of this individual, Ing said in a statement. The public deserves a safe transportation system, and I want them to know that this conduct will not be tolerated anywhere on our system. Yeah, but it is, and it has been. I mean, what are you talking about? You are, I mean, are you really going to wait for the federal government, you know, Secretary Sean Duffy to say something for you to actually, you know, get a fire lit under your ass and start properly policing the transit system? The letters are the latest in Duffy's push for transit agencies to curb fare evasion and improve safety. Earlier this year, he issued similar warnings to transit systems in Washington, New York, and LA, as noted in the news release. Last month, 23-year-old Ukrainian refugee Irania Zarutska was fatally attacked on a North Carolina light rail train, a case that sparked national outrage. The CTA and MBTA did not immediately respond to Fox News Digital's request for a comment. Yeah, nobody ever wants to respond to anybody for a comment. Not these days, it seems. Move on to the next thing. Oh, yeah, man. Sad story. U.S. Army Special Operations Command. We announced the passing of 4 brave warriors who perished last week while conducting routine flight training. Chief Warrant Officer 3, Andrew Cully, age 35. Chief Warrant Officer 3, Andrew Krause, age 39. Sergeant Donovan Scott, age 25, and U.S. Army Sergeant Jadalyn Good, age 23. We will never forget. And there's their image. They don't elaborate as to exactly what happened with them. That's all that I saw. Yeah, and I guess I might be able to look in the comments and see if there might be. Let's see. So they elaborate here by saying, quote, they were elite warriors who embodied the highest values of the Army and the Army Special Operations, and their sacrifice will never be forgotten. Lieutenant General Jonathan Braga, USASOC Commander, our hearts are with the Night Stalkers and their families of our fallen in this tragedy. And then they also say USASOC extends its profound thanks to the professionalism and heroism of the many first responders who assisted in the recovery of our fallen. Rest in peace, patriots. And they go on from there. A lot of rest in pieces, or rest in peace, and yeah, prayers. Yeah, it's always awful. It's always awful whenever we lose, you know, servicemen. All right, let's go to Homeland Security. Obstruction of law enforcement. No, this individual directly interfered with law enforcement officers carrying out their duties and struck an officer with a door. What the hell is this? So from 5 Chicago, a video, 3 men, including U.S. citizen, detained by ICE at Des Plaines gas station. And yeah, Homeland Security is pushing back yet again, correcting the record yet again, by saying on September 16th, ICE conducted an immigration enforcement operation in Des Plaines, Illinois, to arrest Rigoberto Ruiz Rebolo, an illegal alien from Mexico. During the arrest, Ruiz Rebolo's son, who is a U.S. citizen, attempted to obstruct the arrest and struck an officer with the passenger door. The officers took appropriate action and followed their training to use the minimum amount of force necessary to resolve the situation in a manner that ensures the success of the operation and prioritizes the safety of the public and our officers. Rigoberto Ruiz Rebelo remains in ICE custody pending immigration proceedings. Illegal aliens can take control of their departure with the CBP Home app. And so far, over 2 million they have left on their own accord. Plus, you get a free plane ticket back, well, paid for by the U.S. taxpayers, and you get an extra $1,000 when you get to where you're going. So it says that there's a video. I'd like to see the video. I don't know if they may have clipped it or not. No, I'm not seeing it. I suppose I can try to see if I can find it. Des Plaines ICE arrest. Let me see if I can find it. Des Plaines ICE arrest. Here we go. U.S. citizen tased and detained from 5 days ago. All right, 2 days ago. Yeah, that's obviously not going to be it. Okay, here's the gas station. Looks like 2 separate views. Which one's this one? CBS Chicago, NBC Chicago. Both of them are probably, you know, trash outlets, but whatever. I'll just play this
New
top
video
one.
you'll see only on CBS News Chicago shows ICE trying to take a father and his two sons into custody in Displays.
Jermont Terry is live in the newsroom with how one man ended up in the hospital even though he's not in the country illegally.
Joe and Erica, tonight family members tell us one of the three men involved in this morning's incident just got out of the hospital a few hours ago after he says he was tased in the face while being detained by federal...
Oh my God, dude, that's hilarious. Just like The Hangover. Dude got blasted in the face by a taser. Could we at least get a body cam of that? That just sounds hilarious to me.
Agents. The only problem, the man injured was born right here in Chicago, yet his father is undocumented. But they all...
Yeah, but he was obstructing officers with his passenger door, sir. Are you going to tell us the truth, or are you just going to keep rambling on about what you think he did?
Ended up in ICE
or what
custody.
You want him to have done.
We have the video you'll see only on CBS News Chicago.
Innocent victim.
On what went down this morning.
You're watching federal agents pull out weapons at 9:30 Tuesday morning. They boxed in this landscaping truck just as a father and two sons exited the 7-Eleven at Ballard and Potter Roads in Des Plaines.
Yeah, I would say as far as ICE goes, that's kind of bad timing, dude. You're supposed to try to apprehend them before they get into the vehicle. Or if they're just now pulling into the gas station, don't you think you should just kind of hold off until they get parked and get out of the truck first? Instead of just trying to arrest him while he's got the engine running and it's in gear.
Edward Lewis tells me he came out first and jumped in the passenger seat. His brother Adrian was second. Yet when his father,
they're already parked. Why didn't they rush him then?
Seen here, left the store, the surveillance shows ICE agents moved in. The video shows one agent came from in front of the truck and went to the passenger side where Edgar was. We cannot see what happened from this angle. We do see the truck reversing as more agents moved in. That's when you see Edgar at the top of your screen run across the busy road. ICE agents followed. The second
so now he's fleeing and eluding.
The block at the right of your screen.
Pretty sure that's a felony.
Who is undocumented and has lived in the United States for 30 years, did not run.
The Latino community as a whole under attack.
Doesn't matter if he's here for 50 years, he's still here illegally.
Even if you're a U.S. citizen, you know, like
there's no statute of limitations.
The two brothers are U.S. citizens, and Edgar told me over the phone when the
Why
agent
do they keep saying that? Like it fucking matters.
The agent tried holding the door closed.
They weren't there for them. They were there for the illegal.
Edgar says at that time he and his family had no idea who was at the vehicle. He said everyone was scared, and when he tried opening the door, Edgar says an agent tased him in the face.
Yeah, they're screaming police. They're in tactical gear
to run for their lives.
Middle
of public.
Despite
being a U.S. citizen, he says they ran out of fear, and those are the concerns the Latino leadership.
Dude, if you ever watch an episode of Cops, that's literally what every single suspect who runs says. They all say that. Why'd you run? Oh, because I was scared.
is worried about as Operation Midway Blitz continues.
The situation in Des Plaines.
Midway Blitz.
Like, we must demand a full accounting of what's happening with these incidents.
This is not about
Why? It's between
safety.
them and the federal government. They're here illegally.
This is an engineered crisis.
Now, Edgar tells me he was detained for about 2 hours at a facility in Lombard. Once released, his family took him to get medical attention. The father remains in ICE custody tonight. We are waiting to hear back from Homeland Security officials about what they say happened at that 7-Eleven in Des Plaines. Live in the newsroom tonight.
Oh, no, you don't have to wait. I already got it. From Homeland Security. It's right here. Here's Homeland Security's statement. I already read the whole thing, didn't I? Yeah, I did. I read the whole thing. So there you go. There's Homeland Security's statement. So they were waiting for it. Now they got it. From Homeland Security. All right, so I'm just going to move on to the next thing there. All right. From Ami Bera, MD, Democrat, President Trump and congressional Republicans must come to the negotiating table to prevent a harmful government shutdown and protect Americans' health care. Okay, so you're the ones who are strong-arming Republicans. Okay, got it. Because you're the ones demanding to come to the table, or else we are going to shut it down. Oh, wait, no, like they're going to shut it down, but like we're demanding they come to the table, or else we're going to shut it down, but they're going to shut it down, though. Okay. If they refuse to negotiate, they will bear full responsibility for shutting down the government. No, they're not, dude. It's obviously and clearly you shutting down the government, dude. Anyway, so I said, my tax money paid for other people's health care for long enough. Not even a simple thank you to the taxpayers, just the opposite. And of course, Doge AI chimes in, talking about $150 billion annual drain from illegal immigration on Medicaid. That's how much money that they're spending on illegal immigration for Medicaid, at least according to Doge AI. And then I got another one here from Rep. Sharice Davids. If the current ACA tax credits are allowed to expire, thousands of families will see their health care costs go up. I'm working to ensure that doesn't happen. Congresswoman calls on leaders to ensure healthcare costs do not rise for millions. Look, dude, tax credits, they're not designed to last forever. They aren't. Otherwise, it would just be put into the system, which would lower the healthcare costs anyway. They're going to expire at some point. They probably should have expired like 10 years ago or whenever these tax credits kicked in the first place. All it's doing is just artificially driving down the cost for healthcare insurance for individuals, which in a roundabout way, it's only allowing the healthcare industry to just hyperinflate everything because the government's paying for it. So, why the hell wouldn't we just double the cost of everything that you get at the doctor's office or the hospital or surgery or what have you? So anyway, I don't know if I commented on this one. Maybe I did. Yeah, I did. So the healthcare costs are already up. The only difference, my tax money won't pay for their healthcare, and it shouldn't. There you have it. Of course, Doge AI's chiming in again. Accountability. Only on convicted felon Trump's watch. Okay. All right. LOL, between health insurance, auto, home insurance fees, things are out of control. Add property taxes, and it's tough out here in Reelsville. Yeah, it is. It is. It's just a little bit unfair when some people are getting giant breaks on their health insurance, but people like us normies who don't make that much money anyway. I really don't make much money. I'm on the lower end of the middle class, and I don't get to get my insurance paid for. I have to pay for it because I make just a little bit too much money for the government to help me. But they're so quick to take out my tax money and then give it to somebody else who, more likely than not, they're probably not working and they're able-bodied and they should just be working anyway. Not to mention, the majority of these people that they're trying to cover for are illegal immigrants. They want illegal immigrants to keep their health care, and it's bullshit. And I don't stand for that. I don't think they should be allowed to get health insurance because this ain't their country. Go back to their own country and get health insurance there. All right, U.S. Department of Transportation. Today, Secretary Sean Duffy and U.S. Department of Transportation, FRA, Federal Railroad Administration, announced nearly $5 billion in available funding through the new National Railroad Partnership Program. The new initiative will enhance safety on intercity passenger rail networks. Results. I'm not really in favor of this. I honestly think that the private railroad companies should be the ones responsible for this. It's their railroad. It's not mine. It's not the federal government's railroad. It's like CSX. Doesn't Warren Buffett own CSX? Make him pay for it. I mean, why are you going to make me pay for it? It's his fucking railroad. Are they going to give me a big, deep discount for riding on Amtrak or something? Me as a taxpayer, since I'm paying for all this shit? All right. Anyway, from the U.S. Department of the Interior, public lands are amazing all year, but there's something magical about the arrival of fall colors. As forests transition into reds, oranges, and yellows, people head to their favorite spots to enjoy the healing power of nature and this autumn spectacle. Photo by Aaron Pospisil. That is a very cool picture. That is very cool. But I live in St. Petersburg, Florida, so we don't really get fall colors. Across the street from my house, there's some cypress trees. Cypress trees, they don't change colors, but they lose all their needles or whatever. Like it becomes bare during the winter time. And I've got golden rain trees. I've got some of them that are in my backyard. Those things grow like weeds. But in the month of October, they flower. Bright yellow. Really bright yellow flowers. It blossoms for the month of October, and then by the end of October, early November, those flowers turn into like a pinkish reddish shell that the seeds, they're like seed pods that it grows into after the flowers are pollinated and all that. So that's a cool transition. So that's about as close to changing in fall that I get, which is kind of the opposite of what everybody else gets. Everybody else gets like changing leaves that are dying and falling off the trees, and I'm getting freaking flowers in my backyard. So anyway, fall, man. I don't know. Does anybody else out there leave a comment if you're going anywhere for fall to see the leaves change? I know like people, they go up and down Appalachia. Like there's a whole bunch of different places like the Smokies, or like heading up into like Vermont or upstate New York. Yeah, man, all over the place watching the leaves change. That'd be cool, man. I haven't seen leaves change in, good grief, man, probably, I'm trying to think, maybe 14 years? It's probably been about 14 years since I've seen leaves change. Yeah, at least that. Yeah, probably about 14 years. It's probably been about that long. Long time, man. I don't know. I don't ever leave Florida. I don't really want to. It's too expensive these days anyway. All right, from FBI Director Kash Patel, join your new FBI at fbijobs.gov. And they also have this quick clip here. I have not seen this yet. Forensics.
It's ordinary people doing extraordinary things. Do you have the fire to go further?
Yeah, there you go. You join the FBI. I don't know, man. Hollywood, they've done a pretty effective job at making the FBI look badass. Because, like, when I was a kid, I always thought that'd be cool to be an FBI agent. It seems like so not I don't think elite's the right word, but it just looks like a badass place to work. Anyway, Attorney General Pamela Bondi, our mission to make DC safe again continues with 57 additional arrests yesterday and 3 illegal firearms seized. They are still arresting people. I think it was originally, this is as of September the 22nd. I'm trying to remember exactly what date it was. What was the date when they first, I think it was like August 6th or August 7th, somewhere around there. I think that's like about when they started that initiative to get DC under control. I haven't seen anything with Memphis, though. I wasn't really looking for it, but if I had come across something in the government feed that I watch every day, I have a list for the government. I have a list for politicians, and then I have a list for the higher ups like Trump's cabinet and leaders in different agencies and things like that. And I haven't seen anything with regard to Memphis. They're supposed to be moving the cavalry into Memphis to get that place cleaned up and under control. So I'll just keep an eye out on that. And with that, that is the end of the episode. So if you enjoyed the episode, please give the video a like and subscribe to the channel if you have a chance to do so. It would really mean a lot to me if you do. And I'll drop a new show every evening on Monday through Friday, covering the swamp and everyone living in it, the politicians, the bureaucrats, the agencies, and everything else. I also post daily episodes over on X too, so feel free to comment over there too if you'd like. And thank you very much for watching. Hope you have a great rest of your night, and God bless America.